Alright, welcome back to another Tabletop Cards and Dice video. My name is Brian Hafferkamp. I am the designer and founder of the Clark and Addison Gaming Company. In this video we're going to do something that I love to do, which is to play a new game. Really, I guess I'll introduce it in this video, and then I'll set up a different video for like a 4 or 5 inning tutorial. I'm in the middle of a game right now. So what I wanted to do is just sort of introduce this game, and I found this at tabletop-sports.com, and it's basically a message board where you can download free games and free seasons for other games, and sort of user-generated content. Some of the games are put on there. The downloads are free. If you go to the download section, there's some discussion and things like that as well, but the download section is usually where I head to, especially when I'm looking for just something new, something fresh, something I've never seen before. So I go there and download a game. Looking through their download section, it's got a pretty extensive search, so you can use the search to just kind of search for key terms if you're looking for a baseball game or football or whatever. And then you just kind of work your way through the downloads and see what's there. There's not a lot of descriptions and things like that. There's usually a brief description, kind of what the game is about, but not really anything super extensive. And so you just kind of download the games to your computer or to your phone and or whatever device you're using, and then unzip the files and just kind of see what's there. Sometimes it includes Excel spreadsheets, sometimes it includes Word docs, sometimes it's just a document, and that's kind of what you get. Or sometimes it comes in pieces, like this game I'm going to show. So he calls this Dice Baseball 2, and I don't know the designer of this game. He just listed it as CB, so I had to go back and see if his name is actually attributed. But he kind of walks through how he got to create this game. So he was reading the Fireside Book of Baseball. He'd gotten that one Christmas, and this is the actual game. Inside that book, he discusses a tabletop baseball game. It's kind of, I guess it's in tabletop baseball lore, like it's sort of a thing, right? So it's simple dice baseball game. And he talks about how he went through and he was playing it for a long time. And the problem with it, or the shortcoming, I guess, is that there were no individual ratings for the players. And so he himself went back in his adult years and sort of revamped the game engine to include individual players. And what he did is he came up basically with a rating system. And then he goes through to discuss how to rate the batters, how to rate the pitchers, and then he has some outcome charts as well. So we'll take just a quick look at those. But basically you go through and you do all of your ratings on a spreadsheet that you can also download at the tabletopsports.com message board, I guess. It's a forum or a message board, either one. And so it gives you really an instance of going through and rating the batters, and going through the spreadsheets. And then there's also some helper sort of sheets that help you to rate the batters. And then gives you some more examples, and also rating pitchers. So it's got some interesting little sort of plus minus ratings, and the way that he gets to all of the ratings is based off of pretty simple stats: average, hits, innings pitched, doubles, triples, homers. Like, it's the kind of stats that you're going to get everywhere that you look for baseball. And so it's really great for especially really old historical seasons, which I'll show you later. Because all of the basic stats are there. It's not using any sort of advanced stats or any statistics that weren't kept through basically the history of baseball. So then you go through and you can rate the pitchers, And then he explains just a few of the outcome charts and how you roll off of those outcome charts. It's some of the charts are just one roll, figure it out. Some of the charts are kind of a progressive roll, so you roll once, and then that determines what you're looking at the next time and the next time. So occasionally you get to a chart that requires you to roll 2 or 3 times, but it's really not cumbersome. It's based off of 2d6 dice, so it's not super cumbersome at all. And let's start with the ratings part. So when you're doing the ratings, you have a ratings chart here, and each of the batters is broken up into these groups, I guess, and that determines how many hit opportunities that you have. But that's based off of your batting average. And then also, if a pitcher is batting in a certain average range, you can use that as well. This is the pitcher ratings. So we have one that's called for hits. -1 and -2 are going to be your best pitcher. So -2 is going to be your best pitcher. And what this means is if he's minus on the sort of plus minus scale that's on the spreadsheet, that means that he is quite a bit better than the average in terms of on-base percentage. And there's another, what is it? It's innings pitched divided by at-bats. And that number is sort of a constant. And then you take the constant of the league on-base percentage, and then as you do the calculations for the pitcher, he is being sort of graded against that, the combination of those two numbers. So it's not a super complex formula, but it is a few different parts, and all of that math is set up for you. You just sort of plug in the numbers, and then it runs all the math for you and comes out on the other side with this number, this plus minus number. And so the lower the number, the better the pitcher; the higher the number, the worse the pitcher against the league average. So on the minus side, if he's a -2, then on a 1-4 and a 2-4 roll, he'll turn any of those results into, which they're typically singles. In fact, you can see up here, 1-4 is a single on the best batters from 8 to 12, actually from 7 to 12. And then on a 2-4, you can see starting here, it begins to be on every batter. So basically you're taking away a hit, and it turns a hit into an out. So that's what's happening here. If the pitcher is a -1, then only on the 1-4, not on the 2-4. So only one chance to take away a hit. And for me, you'll see it on the cards that I show you. For me, I've done the 1-4 turns into a ground ball out, and the 2-4 turns into a fly ball. So I've actually just gone ahead and said it's this out. That's not necessarily specified in what he's done. Then there's a neutral player who's a 0, no change, doesn't affect the at-bat one way or the other. And then as you get into +1, 2, 3, and 4, +4 is the worst player, because on a 6-2, 2-6, 2-1, and a 1-2, all of those are turned into hits. It's turned into a single. So if it's just a +1, then the 1-2 is turned into a single, and it kind of works your way through. So when you look here, you go to the 1 to the left and you add it, but it doesn't go all the way over here. So you're just thinking this on one side, or is a minus on this side. So that's how you would rate sort of their plus and minus rating for hits. There's one for strikeouts. So based off of the player's strikeouts and walks, you get sort of a strikeout or a walk rating. And then same thing. So 6 on the strikeouts is, or above, is the best you can get. So on a 6-4, 4-6, 3-4, 4, all of these, you're going to get those rolls are going to result in a strikeout. If he's only a +2, then a 5-1 and a 1-5 are going to be strikeouts. So Depending on how high this number goes, increases your chances or decreases your chances for a strikeout off of the pitcher card. And then the same thing for walk, so up to a 5, which your worst offenders, that's going to be in your like 15% walk range, are going to have all of, they're going to have all of these. I have not used the extra base chart, but what I do use is the extra base percentages, because what you're going to do is, the way he tries to figure out hits is it's divided up into singles and extra base hits. And so you roll basically for an extra base hit opportunity or a single. If it's a single, it's just a single. If it's an extra base hit opportunity, then you're going to roll again, and there's a calculation in there for well, it's not really a calculation. You have to do the assigning of triples and home runs, and so it gives the player's home run percentage based off of hits and his triples percentage based off of hits. So you figure those two numbers, and then everything else. So let's say, who do we have? Okay. So Julie Wera is one of the 1927 Yankees. And you can see here that he has a triples rating of a 2. So on a roll of a 2, which is only 3%, then if he hits one of these extra base numbers, so 1-1, 2-2, or 6-6, he's rated for 3 extra base hits based off of his extra base hit percentage. What percentage of his hits are singles, what percentage are extra base hits. So that's how you come up with the 3 inside the grid. And there's an extra base. And so when you roll and hit like a 2-2, you'll roll again. And then if that roll is a 2, then the result is a triple. If that roll is a 5 or a 6, and again, you're combining 2 d6 dice, so a 3 and a 2 or a 4 and a 1 gives you a 5. So if it's a 5 or a 6, then it's going to be a home run. Anything other than a 2, 5, or 6 is going to be a double. So it's sort of assumed the only other extra base hit is a double, right? So you only have to figure triples and home runs. I guess you could technically figure doubles if you wanted to. I have space on this card for a double, but it's a little bit superfluous because everything else is a double. And then the final thing that I added was an actual calculation for speed for the batter. And so they're either slow, average, or fast. And the base running is extensive enough, but it's pretty simple to implement. It's not difficult. There's not a lot of figuring anything out. Arms don't come into play and stuff like that. So especially with these older teams, who knows what Babe Ruth's arm was like from the outfield. I don't really know. And we don't really have statistics to help us know, was he great at throwing out base runners? He was a good pitcher. He was a great pitcher, actually. But we don't know what kind of outfielder he was. So other than did he catch the ball, but we don't have any advanced stats for that kind of stuff. So so you go through, and in order to figure out like the triples, what number for the triples or what number for the home runs, you actually have a home run percentage and you have a triples percentage, and you're basically pulling in the numbers that add up. I try to push it 1 or 2%, 3% over that number, just because I think going over is going to be a little bit more accurate than going under, just based on the experience of creating games. So you use this to create the triples and the home run opportunities, I guess is what you would say, the rolls that result in those extra base hits. And then it does come with, let me get this right, comes with some charts that help you to do different things in the game, especially fielding. So we have a type of out chart. Now what I've done is I've gone through and basically taken this chart and I've put it onto this little grid. I don't know if you could see that very well. So I put it onto this little grid for each of the players, and then I've assigned the hits as necessary. So He is a batter who is an 8. Now you put in you look at the batting average. So his average was 238. So that's closest to the 8. Usually it's if it's under this number, like between these two numbers, then you just put it at the higher number. So it's kind of a, if he was batting 215, I would probably make him a 7. So it's a little bit subjective in that way. Or you can be totally objective and just put it in between this range and then just choose the high number. If you want fewer hits, you just choose the low number. It's just that easy. And then some of these, there's no 6. So kind of if he's a 175 or a 180 hitter, I might mark him as a 6 instead of a 5, which runs into some issues, I think, later on. But they're just things that I'll just have to figure out. And maybe I can add an extra column in here for a 6. But basically, he's a 238, he's an 8. That's what kind of batter he is. And really, this is helpful because it helps you to decide between, how good a hitter are these two next to each other. You can obviously see that he's got a 317 average, but very quickly, you can see that Ben Paschal is quite a bit better of a hitter than Julie Wera. Excuse me. And so that gives you like a really quick indicator as to, who are your better hitters. So he has 11 chances to get a hit. He has 8. He has 4 or 5 extra base hit percentages. He only has 3. So he's got 5 chances for an extra base hit. He's only got 3. Now, in terms of a home run hitter, he's going to be a better home run hitter, but more of a triples hitter. He's going to be a little bit better home run hitter, and less of a triples hitter. They're both slow. So you kind of are able to choose which way to go with that. So once you've decided his average number, then that's going to give you, what was I looking at? That's going to determine where the singles go. So let's say for Julie Wera, he's a 238 average. Again, we're choosing the average number 8 right here. Hopefully there's no glare and you can see that. And then that means that he's got 8 opportunities. And then based off of the calculations of his extra base hits to his singles, it gives you a number, or actually a couple numbers in there. So when you input that he is an 8, then it breaks down. Okay, it says out of 8 opportunities for a hit, which we have 8 opportunities here for a hit. Out of those 8, how many are going to be extra base hit opportunities and how many are going to be singles? So it might break down for him, it breaks down into 5 singles and 3 extra base hit opportunities. So it's different for every player. Like I said, for Paschal, he breaks down into 5 extra base opportunities and 6 singles. So you can see it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 singles. So he's got 6 single opportunities on there. So every player is a little bit different, and you just kind of input those things by hand. And that creates this card. So there's sort of this baseline outs chart here. And then for a 1-1, instead of an outfield fly, this is going to be an extra base opportunity, right? So pretty basic outfield fly balls, infield fly balls, ground balls, pop-ups, and an error. So you can see here, this is the single pop-up at 3-1. And then there's an error chance always at 4-4. So if you roll a 4-4, you know that's going to be an error. At least an error check. And then for ground balls, when there's a ground ball, you use this chart. Who is it hit to? This is where you're trying to figure that out. So you roll 2d6 dice, you add them together, and you just basically look across. Obviously, more opportunities are going to go to the shortstop and the second baseman. and then a few fewer will go to third and first, and even fewer to the pitcher or catcher. If it's a 12, then you roll again, and then if it's a 1 to 3 on a single d6, a 1 to 3 goes to the pitcher, a 4 to 6 goes to the catcher, so they sort of split a result there as well. There's an outfield fly chart, works basically the same way. So if it's a right-handed batter or a left-handed batter, you roll 1d6, and then it tells you, 4, 5, 6 from a right-handed batter goes to left, 2 or 3 goes to center, and a 1 it goes to right field. If you let's say a man is on first, 1 out, there's a double play opportunity. Ball's hit to shortstop. You go here and then you roll and add the numbers together, and that will tell you what happens at the shortstop. So if it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 11, it's an automatic double play. So you would go 6, 4, 3, and then if it's 7, 8, or 9, then that means it's just the lead runner. So it'll be a fielder's choice at second, the batter safe at first, and then a 10 or a 12 is just a fielder's choice to first, and then the runner advances to second. So pretty basic, but it does include, most of the out situations that you're going to run into with a double play. And then if there's an infield fly, let's say you have an infield fly with a runner at first and 1 out, then you're going to roll here for what type of infield fly. Is it a pop-up or a line drive? And then after you get that, it moves on to a second dice roll. And then if it's the second dice roll is 1 to 4, no double play is possible. If it's a 5 or a 6, then a double play is going to be possible. And then you roll one more time. If it's a 1 to 4, there's no double play. A 5 or a 6 would be another double play. So, and then after that, if you roll another 6, then it would be a triple play. I think that's how it's supposed to go. That's how I've been playing it. For advancing runners, if the ball is hit to left center or right field, then you're going to use these charts. So basically, let's say runner on first with nobody out, single to right field, and you want us to advance the runner first to third, you would roll once over here. So that's going to be your first roll, and let's say you roll a 6. Then you roll a second time. Actually, I guess you roll for a 6, so this goes with this. So these all kind of go together. So you would roll, if you roll a 6, then everybody's safe. If you roll a 4, then you have to roll again, and then a 1 to 5 would be safe. And you're really just thinking about the lead runner here. It does give instructions in the instructions with the outcome charts. Runner on second with less than 2 outs, the runner advances. Oh, that's not the one. The hitter will advance to second on a play at third. So let's say you hit it to right field, and he goes first to third. You roll a 4, and then you roll another 4, safe at third. The batter is going to advance to second base. So just to sort of give you an idea of that, all safe means all the rolls are going to be safe. So it doesn't mean all the runners are safe. That was a little confusing to me, because then over here it says all out, and I'm like, 2 chances for both runners to be out seems a little excessive. And then I figured all the rolls are going to be outs. Okay, so basically you roll a 2 and the ball's hit to left field and you're trying to advance to third, and you roll a 2, then the runner is out. Okay, but the batter will advance to second base. So it took me a minute to figure that out. And then there's one for home plate as well. So you want to advance a single up the middle, and you want to bring the runner home from third. This is the chart that you would use for that. So I have actually gone through and done a little bit of extra for that, and created left, right, center for the home plate advancement as well. For the error chart, this is after you roll a 4-4. You'll roll the first time to see, was it an outfielder or an infielder that committed the error, And then if it's an infielder, you use here, and a 1 to 5 is a 1 base error, a 6 is a 2 base error. And then if it's an outfielder, then you look at what kind of error it is. Was it a drop fly ball, or was it a hit with an error? And then if it's a hit with an error, then you would use this chart here. So 1 to 4 is a single with an error, 5 to 6 is a double, really a 5. If it's a 6, then you roll again. A 1 to 3 is a double, 4 to 6 is a triple. So you would just kind of play out the play based off of that. If it's the double asterisk, then you roll, and if it's a 6, then it'll be a 3 base error on the fly. Otherwise, it's going to be a 2 base error on the hit. So, and finally, the sacrifice chart here is pretty basic. You just roll 1 dice when you want to do a sacrifice bunt. It's a double play, a fielder's choice. The sacrifice is good, or on a 1, then you would roll again to see was it a single or an error on the play. And then obviously if it's an error, you would need to roll to find out which player on the infield made the error. And then the stolen base chart. This is based off of fast, average, and slow, so I did not create those categories. They're created here in the game. Most of what I did is just simply a translation of the game to new cards and a new chart. I didn't do a lot of extra. The game is pretty solid and good by itself, so there wasn't a lot of need, but you know, creating cards, there weren't cards created for the game, so it tells you how to rate the players, but doesn't really provide any sort of card making system. So so the stolen bases, if you're stealing second, you'll use this chart. Stealing third, you use this column. So for a fast batter, a 1 to 5 is going to be safe, which is 80 something percent, you know, which, I mean, the percentages are basically spot on. They're kind of large gaps between them because you're only using one D6. If you wanted to use both of the D6s for that, you could get a little bit more granular, but you'd have to sort of make up your own chart. So those are really the only charts that cover most of the basics of playing a baseball game. And then I've gone ahead and just put all of these charts onto one sheet, which is mostly helpful here. Hopefully you can see that. Okay. There's a lot. It's kind of busy. A lot going on here. So this is what it looks like here. So we have outfield flies and ground balls, which you're going to use quite a bit. Obviously on every play you're going to do that. Stolen bases, infield flies, and just try to kind of clean up like what you're supposed to do. So roll 1, roll 2, roll 3 for stolen bases. I didn't make any changes there. For errors, you roll first for infield or outfield, and then an infielder, outfielder, and then that goes to here. For runner advancement, this was taken straight off of the chart. So that's here, and did the same thing. If you're going first to third, if you're going, the ball's hit to left, center, or right, and you're going home, you would use these charts here. So that part I did change just a little bit. And then I added that an average or fast trail runner advances to second on a play at third or home. So I changed it from all runners advance to second to just an average or a fast runner, because it seems unrealistic to me that a slow runner is going to try to advance on a play at third base. That's probably not very realistic, so I just put it to average and fast. And then left the ground balls as they are, so a double play, lead runner out at first. And then the sacrifices, I didn't change anything here. 1 to 3 is a single, 4 to 6 is an error. I flipped the, it started at 6 on the charts over here, but I started it at 1, makes it a little bit more readable, I think. So just try to put everything condensed into one sheet of paper instead of having to flip back and forth between 2 different pieces of paper. So that is the game, and really we have two different types of cards. So we have a batter card and a pitcher card. And so for the pitchers, I've rated them, and then I put there, so he's got a 1-4 on his hit rating. So his plus minus rating is a -1. So on a 1-4, he's going to turn whatever that is into a ground out. So normally, let's say for this batter here, it would be a single, and then he turns that as a pitcher into another out instead of, so he's giving up one fewer hit. And then he's got a couple of walk chances, couple of strikeout chances. You can see Pinnock is not a high walk or strikeout guy. He's really pitch to contact type of pitcher, and so that gets reflected on the card as well. He's a left-handed pitcher, starting pitcher. There is a way to, it creates a, what he calls an effectiveness rating. Basically, in modern parlance, that would be a stamina rating that we have. And essentially after he goes past 6 innings, and this is based on innings pitched. So when he goes past 6 innings, this would be the first thing to go away, would be this ground ball. And then essentially you're supposed to add another walk chance, which the next walk chance would be a 5-5, so that would become a walk. And then you would eliminate one of these strikeout chances for every inning that it goes out there. So maybe the first one you eliminate the 4-6 or the 6-4. Probably would be the 6-4. And then a second, if you wanted to go out for the 8th inning, you would eliminate the 4-6. You could keep the walk percentages there, or you can add in the 5-5. And I think the next one is a 2-6 and then a 6-2. So you kind of get a sense when you're rating the players like where the next ones would be, because you just sort of do them over and over again. And the walk chances are always in the same spots on the grid. The K chances are always in the same spots on the grid. So I think if you rated an entire season, or you rated several teams, you would get a sense of, okay, this is where the next one is, this is where the next one is. And it does a pretty good job of like a 1-3 and a 3-1. There's sort of mirror images of one another. They both are the 1 and the 3 and the 3 and the 1, right? So you get a sense of that kind of thing happening all throughout the grid, which makes it a little bit easier to kind of memorize where the next one is. And you would be able to kind of make that calculation on the fly. And if you didn't, or if you couldn't, you could always look back at the ratings and you would be able to see, what's the next one. So and then we have all of his sort of key stats here: 34 games, 19-8 record, 209 and 2/3 innings pitched, and a 3 ERA. I did go ahead and do the what I think is going to be a lot of fun. I actually am planning to create the Eastern, what's it called? I think it's called the Eastern Colored League. I'm planning to do Negro League baseball with this game. What I've started out doing is I've taken the 1927 Yankees and the 1927 Bacharach Giants. It's Atlantic City Bacharach Giants. One of the better Negro League teams in the 1920s was the Giants. And obviously one of the best teams in the history of baseball, if not the best team, the 27 Yankees. And it's not unheard of. These teams may have played each other. It wasn't unheard of for the Negro League teams to play against, especially after the season was over. They would play against Major League All-Stars or Major League teams, and quite often would beat them, which further solidified the keeping Negro League players out of Major League Baseball because of racial segregation and racism, and just not wanting those things to mix, and not wanting their white players to be looked down on, really. But if you go back and you look, they quite often lost to the Negro League teams. So this is really interesting to play these teams together. And in my games, let's see, the Giants are up 3-2 in the game that I'm going to finish out in the next video. But in the 2 games that I played between the Yankees and the Giants have won both. So couple of close games, but you know, the Giants have taken both of those games. So they had excellent pitching, the Giants, and have held Ruth and Gehrig pretty much in check. Ruth hit a 2-run homer in one of those late in the game, but have held the Yankees mostly in check throughout the game. Now, the Earl Combs can't be stopped, and hasn't been stopped very much. And basically, a fast runner he's going to turn a single into a double. It's very rare that they're going to get caught. An average runner, I don't run much with them, but I've tried to kind of replicate that old time baseball feel, and just if he's a fast runner, send him. So that's kind of where I've been with those. So I have cards for the Yankees and I have cards for the Bacharach Giants, and have been playing those against each other. I'm almost finished creating the entire Eastern Color League, which was from 1927, and includes maybe 6 or 8 teams. So it's not a huge set, but I do want to mainly focus on Negro League teams. And there's a lot of teams, there's a lot of like smaller leagues that either they folded or they kind of players moved around a lot. And so you get some really interesting dynamics, I think, within those. You got some kind of really bad teams and you got some really great teams, a little bit like Major League Baseball. But I think that the Negro League seasons, where you actually get to play with all of the Negro League teams and the players, is way underdone in tabletop gaming. So hopefully this represents an opportunity to play sort of an old school dice baseball APBA style, kind of APBA basic style game, with individual players, not only the amazing players, not only the great teams, but literally all of the teams within a league, within a given season. So that's not super common in tabletop sports. And now that Major League Baseball has officially recognized the Negro Leagues as a major league, and all of the major baseball reference and Fangraphs have both integrated the theme heads data into their own databases. Now we have that data that we can use and sort of pull that out of their databases and scrape that and use for our own purposes. So that's what I've been doing, and it'd be really cool. I'm gonna share both my spreadsheet that I use, that has the cards already, and then I will share, and I don't know when I'll do that, maybe when I feel like it's in a place where I feel comfortable making them. But it takes a little bit of manual labor to create these sets. But obviously you could create your own teams, or you could just do 6 Super League teams and that kind of thing, and have your own sets of cards that you could print and create. This is not my game. It's available for free. I'll put the download to the game and the download to the spreadsheet if you want to get those. The spreadsheet that you get from the creator does not have the cards. That's my creation, but you could obviously create your own cards out of that. And yeah, I think that'll be really cool. In the next video, I'm going to play the rest of the game between the Yankees and the Bacharach Giants. You can see here that the score is 3-2, and Smith for the Giants scored on an error. So the pitcher, Roy Roberts, hit a ground ball to Mark Koenig, and Koenig booted it, and so on that error he came in to score. But we had a double run scoring double and a single in the first inning for the Giants. For the Yankees, it was a double by Ruth and a single by Musial after Combs reached on an error to start the ball game. So really fun to play, and the games are realistic. The engine is really good. I didn't make it, so that's probably why it's so good. But it's a good game engine and plays really quickly, and you'll be able to see that in the next video. So after you watch this, look for the next one, and it will be a game between the Atlantic City Bacharach Giants and the New York Yankees from 1927. If you have any questions or comments about this particular game, leave them in the comments section below. If you're interested, click on the links and go and check it out yourself. The rule sheet is only between the ratings and the rules and the explanation of the game, it's only like 4 pages. And then the charts are just 2 pages long. And then you can actually play the games out yourself. Again, I'll put the link to it's a separate post on the tabletopsports.com. It's a separate post to get the spreadsheet. So there's one link that goes to the game and rules, one that goes to the spreadsheet, and then I've just kind of done these things for myself so that I can play. And you can create any teams that you want. You can rate any players that you want based on some really basic statistics. So that is, he calls it Dice Baseball 2, as in the number 2. I think of it as like old time baseball or something like that is what I'm going to use it for, is for rating and carding Negro League players and Negro League years and sets. So I think that's going to be really cool to bring to the tabletop. And I'm not going to charge anything for this because it's not my game to charge from, and can provide those cards for free. And eventually I'll play out some Negro League baseball on the channel as well, using the other cards that I have. So the Baltimore Black Sox, the Bacharach Giants, the Harrisburg Giants, there's a Cuban, what they call the Cuban East Stars. So they had Cuban baseball players who would come up and they would play in this league as well. And then there was the New York Lincoln, maybe they were called the Giants too. New York Lincoln Giants, something like that. And there was one other team, I can't remember the other team. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I think they had a team. So there's several teams, maybe 6 or so teams in the league. And so I've gone through and I've finished with the pitchers. I just need to finish up the batters. So once those are finished, I'll be able to create that. And if anybody's interested in the games or sharing the sets, or you want a way to kind of share those with the community, we could set up a Facebook page or a Facebook group. And then within that group, you can just share the necessary links and files and stuff like that with everybody if you want. And that way we can sort of spread this a little bit. I think when you play the game engine, you'll figure it out, and it's not very difficult. All right, like I said, leave a comment down below or a question if you have any questions. Follow the links, check the game out if you're interested, and if not, then maybe just enjoy watching. So in the next video, I'll play the Giants and the Yankees. If you haven't clicked subscribe, click on subscribe. This is going to be the main channel for all the games that I am making, the works in progress that I'm introducing, fun little side projects like this. Any news and announcements that I'm doing as well will be posted here as well. So I won't be posting anymore to OnBase or to the Advanced Stats Football channel or any of those. I will only be posting to this channel. So if you want to click subscribe, that would be great. We're up to 9 people. Yeah. And click on the thumbs up if you like the video, and share it if you feel so inclined. If you think this is really something that other people might want to know about, then share this video and share the channel with others that you know as well. You can also visit clarkandaddisongaming.com, clarkandaddisongaming.com, and that's where I'm selling all of my games that I've created. So OnBase Advance will be there. It's not there right now, but you can buy Seasons of Uptempo, you can buy the new No Huddle Football, and you can buy Quick Play Baseball, which has all of its season or eras available as well. So putting more and more content onto that website. OnBase is completely onboarded, so everything that I have for OnBase Baseball is there, all the roster sheet sets and some of the individual card sets as well. No Huddle, the 2022 season is on there, which is brand new, with football season coming up. That's the NFL 2022 season. And then Uptempo has all of the seasons available on there right now as well. So you can purchase those, any of those seasons, and that's going to be sort of the center point for all of my games, the ones that I've created over the last 4 years. So Clark and Addison, ADDISON, Clark and Addison Gaming.com. And go make sure you check that out and go back frequently. Pay attention on the Facebook groups as well, as I'll post different announcements there. And also you can become a member of the private Facebook group for the Clark and Addison Gaming Company. It's you can just look it up, the Clark and Addison Gaming Company, and I'll put a link down in the description for that as well. So just click that link and go to the group, and you can ask to join. It's a private group, so you're not gonna run into a lot of spam or anything like that. Let's try to keep that stuff out. Okie doke. I think that's it for me. The next video you're going to see is going to be an actual game played between these two teams. And hopefully this has piqued your interest enough to be able to watch that game and see how the game is played out. That's it for me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.